Hi y'all, it is the Southern Belle from Hell here, and thank you so much for joining my channel today. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. It means the absolute world to me. So guys, I have a very detailed build for you, and it all has to do with the Prescott family that we got in the high school years pack. But before we get too much into that, thank you so much to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video today. Instant Gaming is awesome, guys. If you have not checked them out, definitely check them out. Just click on my link below and you can see for yourself. You can get amazing deals on all of your gaming needs. If you're not just into The Sims, if you want other games, they don't just have The Sims. And it is all literally a fraction of the cost. It is the lowest prices I have ever seen. So definitely give them a chance. And thank you again so much, Instant Gaming, for sponsoring today. Now, getting back into this build. So if you have the high school years pack, as soon as you open a game and you have your teenager go to high school, you have to meet May Prescott. May Prescott is the principal of Copperdale High, and you kind of discover, if you really get into who all is attending high school at the current time. Her daughter Molly is always there when you first open a game, and I've honestly never paid her any attention, and really I didn't pay May much attention. I just knew that was the principal when you open up a new game. But Molly has a lot of interesting character traits about her that I just never really paid attention to. And May, her backstory is super interesting as well. Like, for instance, I didn't even know that May has another daughter and she is a child. Plus, one of the janitors that you see around Copperdale is May's father. So not only is May the principal, and Molly, of course, attends there, but Molly's grandfather is working there as well. So it's kind of an interesting way that this family has roots at Copperdale High, and I wanted to explore that. But before I get into that family too much, I want to talk about the build and the reason why I'm kind of going for this colonial suburban style. So when you first open this world, the Prescotts live in the house that you guys saw when the video first began, and it has kind of a colonial look to it. There's a lot of houses that do have that look in this world, but I don't know, it's weird to me. It looks so bland to me. Like there could be, more to this house, so I kind of wanted to remake it, but keep this colonial style. And since May is a principal, principals make good money. I've been a teacher for 10 years, and at least here in the South, I haven't lived anywhere else. I've lived in Mississippi and Louisiana. Principals make six figures a year. So I wanted to kind of make sure that this house, looks like someone in this house is doing well. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a mansion by no means, but it definitely has a little bit of opulence. It's a little bit of, kind of old world class. So that's kind of why I stuck with this style. I've had this house saved forever in my Pinterest, and I was just trying to figure out, like, how can I use this house? What world has this kind of colonial look to it? And when I look around at the houses at Copperdale, it really does have that feel where you have upper middle class and a little bit lower suburban middle class. But with this, it just gave me the perfect excuse to finally use this build, because all the other worlds really that we have, I haven't really been able to make this style work as well. So I was so excited. And then once I kind of decided to build it for the Prescotts, I said, okay, let me find out more about this family so I know how to decorate. And this family is super interesting. Like, I may actually play with this family, and this is why I decided to do a cast makeover. So if you're interested in that, it's going to be at the end of this video. Towards the end, I'm going to put the timestamp down below. But first things first, let me talk about the oldest generation, which is Lum. He is the grandfather. He is May's father. He is a janitor, and I don't know how long he's been a janitor, but I'm guessing he's probably been there a while. Maybe he was a janitor there when May attended Copperdale as a student. And through him being a janitor, she probably felt like, you know what? I want to one day just own this school. I want to be the principal. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to basically make Copperdale my own. And that's kind of what I'm picturing for her, because one of her personality traits is that she is a perfectionist. So I imagine her kind of wanting things done her way, and she expects everyone to know what her way is. And if you don't know, I see her being kind of strict about it and being like, oh, no, let me show you exactly what I expect. So I see, his full name is Ty Lum. I see him as being more traditional. I mean, they obviously, from the looks, they have an Asian background. Looking through their lore, like, of course, in the Sims world, there's no like particular Asian background, but we do have that, you know, mix of Snowy Escape and For Rent, Tomarang. We get a little bit of like hints of Asian culture in the game. So I kind of picture him more as being from Mount Kohlrabi, just simply because of his personality and his traits. So his traits are that he is neat. He's kind of a snob. He loves the outdoors and he loves collecting. His aspiration is to be an angling ace. So I do put a little bit of fishing equipment around the house when I decorate, and also a little handiness bench outside. As far as skills go, he has 4 points in fishing, but 7 points in handiness. So I imagine that kind of in this area of his life, because he's not that far away from, you know, passing. I imagine he just wants to fish. And of course, in Asian culture, it is very much the norm for the older generation to be taken care of by, you know, their son or daughter, what have you. And it kind of makes sense that he would live with his daughter. And I feel like they have a close relationship, but they have a shared sadness as well. It never says what happened to Ty's wife, whoever is May's mom. So I'm guessing, you know, just kind of inferring a little bit that she probably passed away. Now it does state that May, her husband, passed away. The father of Molly and Amy. Now, it doesn't state how he died. It just states that she is a widow and she's a single mom. And I'm thinking maybe that is something that her and her dad share, you know, mourning the passing of their significant others and basically being single parents. I'm not thinking of May's mom passing like it was something that happened when she was young. I'm picturing, you know, that she was old as well and she just happened to have passed away before Ty did. However, May still has a child and a teenager. So I'm kind of thinking that May's husband probably passed away, you know, due to an accident, maybe an accident around the house, or, you know, a fire, or you know how these Sims be dying, you know. And fire, I swear, I have a family that like they keep setting things on fire. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it was a house fire and the father left them some money and maybe they got a little bit of insurance money as well, a little bit of realism in this, and they decided to purchase the biggest house in Copperdale. And since May is the breadwinner, she makes pretty decent money, they're able to, sustain themselves a little bit. I'm thinking the father didn't die recently. I'm thinking maybe he died when the teenager, Molly, was probably a child, and the youngest child, Amy, was a toddler. And the reason why I say this is because there really isn't a relationship or any type of sadness that is associated with Molly, the teenager. She is kind of bubbly. She is a bit mischievous. She seems to, be a happy teenager, but she does like to get in trouble, like most teenagers tend to like to do. However, the youngest child, Amy, she is very much like a go-getter. She has a very bright personality, and she is a little bit rambunctious. Her child ambition, is a rambunctious scamp. So I'm not thinking this death happened sometime soon. I think it happened a while back, and it's not something that they are continuing to mourn. It's just something that they've, I hate to say gotten used to, but you know what I mean. Like, they're not actively mourning characters in the game. However, with that being said, May has a gloomy trait. I think that she is still very much holding on to her husband's memory, and it is something that is very fresh in her mind. And I even decided to put some urns. I put one urn down that's meant to be for her husband, and another urn for maybe her mom, like Ty's wife or something. Just a little bit of realism. However, it does say on simsfandom.com that the Prescott family is a prestigious family, and that she may feel extra pressure to live up to her late husband's name, and she is projecting that pressure onto her children. Another kind of way to infer that she is still mourning is her character still wears a wedding ring, just normally. If you open up and cast, she is still actively wearing that wedding ring. And I felt like that was sad, but also a very interesting, realistic tidbit for the Sims creators to put for this principal. Kind of let us know a little bit more about her, instead of her being the strict principal that for some reason never likes any of my Sims. She always has negative sentiments about my Sims. But it kind of makes sense because she is a perfectionist. She is very much domestic. She wants a successful lineage, and again, she wants things done a certain way. So I can kind of understand a little bit more about this Sim. But moving on from her and going into the daughters, Amy is the youngest daughter, and you hardly ever see her around, because if you're playing in the high school, you're not really gonna see her. She's a child. But she is very different than what I expected. Her only trait is that she is a kleptomaniac. Yeah, if you guys hear a cat, that is my cat Kiwi. She hasn't made an appearance for a while, but today she has decided to do that. So my bad, I can't get her to shut up. She's a Bengal cat. If any of you guys have a Bengal, they love to talk. So yeah, you're gonna hear that. My bad. So Molly is the character you really see the most of. And in the old house, there is a small attic space with a guitar in it. And you can see in her skills that she has 4 points in guitar. So, maybe that is a space where instead of studying, she is playing the guitar, much against her mother's wants. Because again, her mom's the principal, she's a perfectionist, she wants everything to, she wants her daughters to focus on school. However, we have Molly, who loves music, and she's got 3 points of mischief. She likes to, get away with things here and there. but she is a music lover. She's a genius. She's a muser, and her aspiration is to be a musical genius. She doesn't have a teen aspiration, one of the teen aspirations that comes with this pack. So I found that to be interesting, but she is also a part of the chess team. So especially when it comes to decorating her room, I just kind of had fun mixing up a bunch of girly looks because her wardrobe is very girly. It's very preppy. And even in Cass, it says that is the style that she likes, preppy. So I had fun kind of messing with that style, but also adding in hints of mischief, like she's hiding something from her mom. I give her a little guitar, and I end up putting 2 chess tables in this house, and I put up a trophy, like her and the chess team won at some competition, things like that. Little tidbits about the characters, which I've never made a home and done a makeover all at once specifically for Sims that are already in the game. It's always been someone that I've made up. So this was actually kind of fun and got me into a family that I didn't really know a whole lot about. So I may actually play it. But now getting into details of the build, now that we're starting to decorate the inside, I wanted this house to look very traditional because Copperdale has a very interesting story, and it has a lot to do with mining. And I was kind of thinking about, the history behind different mines, especially in Kentucky, Tennessee. I don't think Copperdale is inspired by those places. I think I've read before that it's inspired by, Oregon, Washington, and the like, but at least here in the South, I'm more familiar with like the mining history in Tennessee and Kentucky. All very interesting stuff. And this landscape does kind of remind me of that area because I've actually been there. I've never been to Oregon or Washington. So if I'm a little bit wrong on the lore, my bad. But I was thinking about the kind of houses I've seen around areas like that. And it does have a very traditional colonial feel, and colonial builds are usually builds that I shy away from because to me they just look so business-like. At least here in South Mississippi and Louisiana, we have like some colonial style administration buildings, and so that's always what I think about. I always think of like an administrative type building, like you got to go to court or something. But when it came to building this home, it felt like really natural in with this type of story and this type of landscape. So I tried to kind of incorporate different styles that an older house that was maybe built in the 1800s would have, and kind of have like those old tones, like a bunch of wall lamps instead of hanging lamps. I mean, I do put them in there, don't get me wrong, but I do a lot more wall lamps than I usually do. I tried to kind of give this house a lot of rooms. I intentionally put more bedrooms than was needed because at least, for the bigger houses that I've seen that have the colonial style, it was meant to hold many family members because, people were having kids back then, like a lot. So I kind of use that space for like extra hobbies and stuff, and, guest, like if people come and sleep over and things like that. I imagine that Molly has a ton of friends. She seems to be like kind of popular at the school. So I imagine she does have friends that stay over all the time, so they can take one of those rooms. I try to mix a little bit of like traditional, older pieces of decoration with their Asian culture. So I do a lot of mix and matching. You'll see like a bunch of like older colonial looking paintings and just like different clutter objects here and there. But I also put up pictures that have, a little bit of like Asian culture tied into it. So I messed around a good bit with different decorative objects we got from Snowy Escape and For Rent, because it just seems to fit this family a little bit better. A lot of the colonial pictures though, even though like of course I used Discovery University. I almost wanted to say University Living. I don't know why. Oh my goodness. And the high school years pack itself, but I also used a lot of cats and dogs because it has so many older looking pictures that I just felt like fit in a little bit better. And going into the living room now, I wanted it to be very big because I'm thinking as the principal of Copperdale, she probably has members of the school board that maybe come by for a meeting, or maybe she's friends with some of the teachers. So I imagine this living room to be kind of like a meeting spot in an entertainment area that's more on the classy side of things. But I do sprinkle around some alcohol, and the reason why it's strange, but I picture whenever I see the gloomy trait, I always think about someone that has a drinking problem. Forgive me, but that is what I think. Whenever I see the gloomy trait, I just think of a sim that's just so depressed, and they're, like the type that would have a flask or something. So I kind of hide a little bit of alcohol here and there throughout the house, and that's probably May's coping mechanism for missing her husband and juggling a daughter that is in high school that seems to be more focused on music than her studies. And she has her littlest daughter that likes to steal things randomly. So she's probably a bit stressed, to say the least. So this living room, I just tried to make it really classy. I've read that May really enjoys the piano, so I put a piano in there. And I'm thinking she probably tried to use this instrument as like, oh, my daughter likes music, learn the piano. But her daughter's like, no, guitar. Rock is in my soul. That is what I'm picturing. They had this huge argument about that, probably here and there, but they still have the piano, and she's kind of hoping her teenage daughter will want to pick that up more so than the guitar. But moving into this kitchen, I wanted this kitchen to be really big and look older. I didn't want it to look modern by any means, so I kind of used these base game tiles because it just reminds me of an older house. And the wall coverings, it just to me looked like something I would see at a house that is more on the historical side. I wanted to kind of play around with white and this light green swatch. For some reason, when it comes to kitchens, I always shy away from the color green. I have no idea why. And when I saw these colors together, I was like, this kind of fits in with the older look that I'm trying to achieve. So with this kitchen, I kind of try to make it open and spread out. Again, she wanted to get the biggest house in Copperdale after her husband passed away and left her with this money, and then plus she's making good money. It's kind of like I made it, and to set an example of like to her children, like this is what you do when you have earned your standing. I'm a principal at the school, I've earned it, but also you buy a big house to take care of your family, things like that, because she wants her daughters to be a success. I mean, that's a part of her aspiration, a successful lineage. And right now, at least from looking at her daughter's traits and their skills, they're not that interested in being the best student or going to college at this point. But I don't know. I really think that like playing with this family would be really interesting and really fun. And that's why I wanted to do a cast makeover for them and kind of, make their personalities show just a little bit more, and then plus make them look more realistic. So right now I'm just cluttering up the kitchen a little bit. I didn't want to over clutter because one of May's traits is that she's a neat sim. So I didn't want it to look like a bit too much, but I wanted it to look like, you know, she has objects that are essential to making good meals, because another trait of hers is that she's domestic. So whenever like I think about the word domestic, I'm thinking about, you know, she wants to, even though she's the breadwinner in the family, she wants to make sure that she does all of the things that, you know, a mom does, even though I'm sure she is exhausted because she's a single mom doing it and taking care of her elderly father. She wants to make sure that, you know, the cooking's done, that she's done the cleaning and everything like that, and also to continue to be a role model for her daughters. And I kind of see the daughters as being a little bit spoiled, just a little bit. The reason why I say that is their clothing that is already on them in cast. So you have Molly, who has this preppy outfit on, you know, and it reminds me of when I was in high school. I'm not even gonna lie, kind of like that style that was layered. You know, you've got plaid and leggings, and you may have a shirt underneath this dress, just like that layered look. It kind of made me think of Mean Girls, honestly, but she doesn't have anything mean a part of her personality. And Amy, the youngest daughter. So I don't think their natural hair colors are the colors that you see. And the reason why I say that is because the hair choices for, at least for Amy, you see roots. And then plus I was like, where would she get red hair? Same thing for Molly. Where would she get the blonde hair? Now, I may have an explanation for the blonde hair because, you know, I was looking at the name, Tai Lum. That's an Asian name. However, Prescott is not. And Prescott traditionally is more of a European name. So I kind of was thinking maybe May's husband that passed away was from Hinford-on-Backley, or perhaps Windenburg. And when they met in college, you know, I'm picturing him maybe blonde haired, and that is where Molly got her blonde hair. Because it does look a little bit more natural than the cherry red that Amy has on her head. So I kind of play around a bit with some swatches and casts to make it look even more so like they dye their hair. And growing up, my mom would not let me dye my hair until I was much older. So I kind of see May as being strict on her daughters when it comes to academics, but also letting her girls have fun with their looks. My mom was strict on the way I looked. She was strict when it came to like school too, but she was very much like, no, you're gonna ruin your hair. You can't dye it all these million different colors. You know, she was very big on like, you've got to study, you've got to make the highest grades possible. But I just see May now kind of like looking at her daughters as being like, I'll let you do whatever you want to do when it comes to your hair, makeup, clothing, whatever. You've just got to make straight A's in school. So yeah, I don't know if that's the personality, but that's the personality I'm going with because it's more fun for me. Now, going into this room, I decided to give May a little office, like maybe, because I don't know if she's a workaholic, but I could easily see her being a workaholic, where she brings her work home with her. She may have meetings with parents and stuff at home, just something a little bit more comfortable. She's very proud of her accomplishments, you know, going to college and working up the educational ladder to become a principal. And so I decided to kind of make this office a little bit more like professional looking. We have her degrees, her awards, and pictures from Brightchester and things like that. And I even put up her husband's urn. Yeah, I know, a little detail, but I do the same when we go into Ty's room upstairs. I put a little urn in there for his deceased wife. Now, moving into the other side of the house, I decided to make this kind of May's domain. So we have the downstairs, which is very neat. I didn't clutter it a lot on purpose because she is a neat sim and she is a perfectionist. So everything downstairs is not cluttered. It's very neat. However, upstairs, I don't see Ty as being a neat perfectionist sim. That's not one of his traits. He loves handiness and he loves to fish. So I kind of see him a little bit more comfortable with clutter. So the girls that, you know, have rooms on either side of their grandfather, their rooms are neat. Yes, they don't want to be grounded by mom, but they've got more clutter here and there. So upstairs is just a little bit more lax, a little bit more personality here and there. I was questioning whether to put a laundry room because I don't know about you guys. I like the realism until I have a big family, because then you're doing laundry all the time. And I can update my washing machine and dryer. It'll still break. Now, it always breaks when there's clothes laying everywhere. So I was questioning whether I should put it there, but I was like, this is such a big house. It would make sense. And I am trying to shoot for realism as much as possible that goes with the story. So I went ahead and put a laundry room in there. And if I play with this family, I'm probably going to delete it, because if I have like 2 people in a house, laundry's fine. But if I have more than 2, and especially with kids, oh no, that is a headache. It's like real life. I hate laundry in real life, and I hate it even more on The Sims, I think. But this bathroom downstairs, I imagine this really big bathroom to not only be the guest bathroom, but this is the bathroom that, you know, like, oh, you guys better not leave your socks in here after you take a bath and everything. You better make sure to do that laundry. So I make it very neat. I make it very like clean and feminine. It's just kind of how I picture May to treat her household. And I, try to add more feminine elements because she doesn't have a husband. And, when we go into Ty's room, I try to do more masculine objects around and just make it a little bit more full of just male clutter. But I just kind of tried to keep her side simple, since she would probably have an issue with so much clutter around. So I had a lot of fun with the sleek bathroom kit and also the bathroom essentials. I hardly ever use these kits, by the way, but I decided to use them because it seemed to fit in a little bit more with the Sims personalities. Now, moving into May's bedroom, again, I keep it very simple, very neat. And I loved how this bed's comforter seems to match the wallpaper a little bit. I see her as, not just a neat freak, but also like very coordinated. Like, she likes things to match. I use these pictures that we got from the Storybook Nursery, and I've used them a couple of times in this house. Because one has a picture of a dark-haired child, and I was thinking, okay, that could be for Amy because Amy has dark roots. So that could have been her as a baby. And now this picture, the baby has like lighter brown hair, maybe dark blonde. That could be Molly, just trying to add some realism. I love me some realism sometime. And I decided to give her a yoga mat because maybe she's trying to not drink as much as a gloomy sim, and she's trying to find inner peace after the passing of her husband. I just see her as like a really depressed character, and I don't mean that in a way that like, okay, yeah, if you've had these things happen to you, you're depressed, but I just find it almost fitting for a neat perfectionist sim who has lost a husband and now has daughters that aren't necessarily meeting her expectation to just be livid. You know, she's got that type A personality and she just doesn't know how to handle it. Whereas I see the grandfather is like, I just want to fish. I just want to live out my days. Yes, I miss my deceased wife, but also I've been working all of my life. I just want to fish. I just want to enjoy life. So moving on to this upstairs part, we are a little bit more relaxed. I try to put more clutter, more pictures. I try to add more Asian influence because we have such a colonial look downstairs, and a lot of those rooms are for other people when they come in. And I picture this area like this is kind of like grandpa's space. He's the adult up here, his room's up here. So he's going to put more of his style down. And of course we have the girls up here, but I make sure to show their personalities in their bedrooms. But I absolutely kind of loved this setup of this this balcony. I've never done a balcony like in this shape, and I just thought it looked really classy and really different. And it kind of, I mean, in the blueprint of this real house on Pinterest, it had that, and I just went, you know what, I've never done that, so let's do it. Let's do something different. So moving on to doing the wall coverings and the flooring and everything, I wanted to keep it simple. Like all of the bedrooms have carpet except for this upstairs master bedroom for Ty, the grandfather. I pictured he would have a big bedroom because of all of his memories, and I wanted to really have enough room to showcase you know, just different objects that I've just used creatively. Like there's some pictures and stuff that I'm like, okay, this could be, you know, a picture of his wife when she was young that passed. And this could be like some memorabilia from Mount Kohlrabi, you know, little things here and there that are kind of reminiscent of who he was all of his life, because he doesn't have much longer. I hate to say it like that, but it says that he has lived 118 days in The Sims. So he is more than halfway done with the elderly part of his life. So it's kind of sad, but as soon as you open the game, if you do play this family, he has a fear of death. He is very much aware that his time is coming up soon, and he still wants to fish. He never completed his aspiration of being an angling ace, and he's worked so much. He's still working. So I don't think he's ready for death just yet, because I don't think he feels like he's done the fun things that he's wanted to do. I feel like he was one of those dads that worked so much to give his daughter the best, you know, that she could have asked for. And now he's just like, okay, well, I don't want to die. There's so many other things that I wish I could have done. So his room is really interesting. I try to keep it looking very traditional and using the things that we got in Snowy Escape and For Rent to just, you know, look like someone of the Asian culture who was older. Kind of give that feel. I hope I did that. Obviously, if you can tell, I'm not Asian. I am from Mississippi. So I loved doing these bathrooms, but I do not show the girls' bathrooms because it looks very much like this one, except it doesn't have the false teeth and razor and little combs. I put like makeup down instead and little bath toys. But yeah, like really the wall swatch and layout is basically the same. So I don't necessarily show me decorating their bathroom. But we are about to start on Amy's room, and I tried to give her as much personality as possible. Her room is a little bit on the small side, but I tried to give her, you know, kind of hints of being a girly sim who's slightly into everything and rambunctious, because she's a rambunctious scamp. That is her aspiration. So I try to fill this room up with, you know, some toys And I do put an old violin down. You know, it looks a little beat up. It's one of the child violins. I put it there because I'm thinking, just like the piano downstairs for Molly that May has tried to push her daughter into learning. You know, maybe she's tried to push her youngest daughter into learning the violin and it's just never taken off. She's too busy playing. But I do see her as possibly in Girl Scouts, and solely for the purpose of making friends and getting into stuff, having people that she can get into mischief with. But yeah, I just kind of like have fun with her room because I can only imagine her personality. I was thinking maybe that little doll that I put down, maybe that is something she swiped from a friend's house. Again, she doesn't need it. She doesn't need really anything. Her mother kind of spoils her a little bit, but she is a klepto sim, so she's just gonna take it. Now we're moving into Molly's room, and I tried to make it look fun. Again, her style is very preppy, so at first I was trying not to do pink because I had so much pink and pastel purple in her little sister's room, but there's just so many pink preppy choices for high school years that I wanted to kind of just keep that. So I put down it's a little record thing that you win if you had a great night at prom. So I put that down. I put down the chess team banner and a award, as well as a mischief book. She does have 3 skill levels in mischief, so I'm thinking, yeah, she is catching up on that instead of studying like her mom wants her to do. I give her a little nook for her computer area. You know, maybe she's chatting up with her friends and things like that. I wondered if I should give her a TV and stuff, but I was like, I doubt, because her little sister has a TV in her room. And since now that Molly is in, high school, I just didn't feel like her mom would be okay with Molly having a TV in her room because she wants her to focus on college. But yeah, so these are kind of my ideas. I'm not going to show me decorating the clutter extra bedrooms, but you're going to see it if you stay tuned for the screenshots. But coming up next is the cast makeover, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, have a good one.